Wow, check this out. We have some new spy photos of the new 3 Series, and I think maybe, just maybe, BMW will redeem themselves from the latest 5 years of designs that we've seen from BMW, because this one actually looks very, very good. I do think this is the spy photos we have here. I think this is the internal combustion engine version, and the proportions of this look great. We're gonna jump in Photoshop. I'm gonna show you this entire collage I put together for you guys. The old one, the new one, and then this is a very interesting photo for a specific reason. I'm gonna talk about that in a minute. And we also have this rendering, which I think this is the closest to what the production version is going to look like, even though I think this is a little bit too smooth from what we're gonna see in the real 3 Series, but it's very close. So we're gonna have a look at all this. And also, of course, jump into Car Scoops, first of all, to have a look at what we know so far about the new 3 Series. And let me know what you think about this. To me, I think this is going to be a massive, massive step forward in the direction that I want to see BMW go. Because if you look at the 3 Series right now, it's not a bad-looking design. It still has the small kidneys. It's only the M3 that has the big kidneys, which honestly has grown on me over time. Something I did not expect, but the big kidneys specifically for the M3, it looks so much better on the M3 than it does on the M4. The reason being because we have the passenger doors, and the proportions of the rear end of the M3 feels like they balance out the big graphic feature that is the grille in the front end. And that is the reason why I personally, if I were to buy an M3 or M4 today, I would 100% go with the M3, simply because I do like the shoulder line that is a single line instead of the cut line that we have in the M4, and also the proportions in the back. But before we jump in to photoshopping, and I want to show you these photos we talked about, let's check out this Car Scoop article, because there's just some new information here, I think, that Car Scoops has revealed of the new 3 Series. I'm going to link it down below. So the new BMW 3 Series is coming to silence the grille haters. Both the i's and the i3 will have similar designs, although they will not have the same platform. They're going to be built on completely different platforms, so front end will be very similar to the Vision Neue Klasse concept. I'm not sure if it's going to be very similar to that one, because this one feels more defined than the Neue Klasse front end. It feels like it's not as minimalist as Neue Klasse, specifically in the lower section. I do think we're going to have some more interesting features in this, actually, compared to the concept, which is very rare to see. So its ditching is controversial, large kidneys, grills in favor of far smaller units, like how it sits in line with the headlight unit like this. Now, we've seen some crazy proportions from BMW. For example, this test rig that they had with the LED wheels, and how high up the rear end sat. I said to myself, I hope this is not what the 3 Series is going to look like, because it looks very, very strange from the rear end. But thankfully, this rear end actually looks very, very good. This is the first we've seen with production-ready headlights. They're edgier than the ones used in the current 3 Series and flow neatly into a set of much smaller, narrow-style kidney grills. Great to see that. I feel like they also expanded the grills horizontally, is giving it a pretty proper wide look in the front end. This results in a classier front end. All of the exterior panels will be changed too, with some parts such as the door and rear quarter panel reminiscent of those on the current 5 Series. I don't really see any 5 Series in these spy photos here. Not a lot of... It looks like a different car from the 5 Series to me. The taillights also appear neatly integrated into the tail of the 4-door sedan, although we don't know if those are the production taillights. I actually think they are, because if we look here at the taillight design, they do have some very... I feel like they're going to be pretty dynamic, because we have a thicker piece here that I think is going to go into a thinner piece across this area. And what is this? A massive bulge over the rear axle, similar to what we have on the BMW M2. And I don't think that this is not the M3. This is just a regular 3 Series. So it's going to have... I think this might actually bring back this BMW plantedness that we saw back in the mid-2000s and early 2000s. This might actually bring that back in very, very clean design in the rear, and the proportions look great as well. I mean, I'm very excited about this. Here you can clearly see the taillight design And these are probably, most likely, the production version, because they look like, these are not parts that they would just, they don't look like parts they just took from the parts bin of, you know, any car and just slapped on here. These look like they belong to this car, and they're also very, very sophisticated light design here. So these are most likely the production version taillights, looking very, very clean in my opinion. So the EV will use the Neue Klasse architecture seen in the iX3 SUV. The combustion model will stick with the CLAR platform. Now, internal combustion engine models will be offered with several different 2-liter 4-cylinders and 3-liter inline 6s. Great to see that, depending on the market. Meanwhile, the M3 will use a version of the current model's 3-liter twin-turbo 6. Also fantastic. However, they're going to add some mild hybrid technology to that. We're going to see what the power number is going to be for that, even though it doesn't really matter in today's world. Maybe 600 horsepower, something like that is my guess. It's going to be maybe 550. We're going to have to wait and see. So expect to see it unveiled sometime next year along the new i3 before it is introduced as a 2027 model year. Look at the proportions here. I mean, don't you think this look like a proper 3-box design of the 3 Series? I mean, I think it looks great. Again, I'm not sure if this one is the internal combustion engine version or the ICE version. Even if it is the internal combustion, the EV, it still looks very, very proper. You have 1 box here, 2 box for the greenhouse, and a 3rd box right here. Clearly, you know, proper sedan proportions. With that said, let's jump into Photoshop here, because there are a couple of things that I definitely need to show you. Learn design sketching online with me. My online class is now only $47. If you have any desire to pick up the skill of sketching products using simple tools such as just a big pen and some cheap print paper, this is something you want to check out. Now, over the years, I've taught with thousands of students from all around the world how to sketch cars and products using my simple sketching techniques, and most of them have seen amazing results from my classes. Analog Designer Pro Pack is the full bundle of all my classes I've released over the years, and it's yours for just $47. You also have a lifetime access to all the videos. Check out everything that's included and see what my students have to say in the link in the description, or simply visit analogdesignerpropack.com. So starting here on the left side of this big collage here with all these models, we're going to start with the current 3 Series, and I actually think it looks very, very good, this thing. It's definitely, you know, more subtle than the M3 with the grills here, and the 330i is definitely my favorite. It's got enough horsepower. It feels great to drive. I reviewed both the 2024 and the 2025 model year, and it looks fantastic. Even though these lower sections down here, I would want to have this be cut a little bit lower and have this be body color, so we have a proper bumper. Looking at the side view, looking very clean as well, with one simple shoulder line going into the corner of the taillight from the corner of the headlight right there. This is a feature I never really understood with the 3 Series. Why did we have this hockey stick design right here? It feels very abrupt, and I don't feel like this is necessary in the bodywork itself, but the proportions still have this 3-box design that we're used to seeing from BMW. Going back a long time in history, of course. Now, the rear end, again, hockey stick design, very dynamic looking taillights, with this piece being thicker going into a thin piece. Thankfully, no LED light bar here. It would not suit the 3 Series, in my opinion, to have a light bar. But as we know, BMW, they need to put these weird things in their cars. You can see that here as well with the lower graphics. They just can't help themselves. I do think, hopefully, I feel like if we look at the spy photos here, I can't see, but obviously everything is covered up. But it really doesn't feel like we're gonna have some too weird graphics in the lower section. And on top of that, we also have a clearly defined bumper here. That is something I was not expecting to see for a 2027 model here BMW. You can see that it goes down from the taillight unit into this very German European waterfall design. I'm not sure if this is actually what we're gonna see in the production version, because it's so much camo here, but it looks like we have a clear waterfall design here going into the bumper unit, looking very, very cool. And then, of course, we have a shoulder line here, very sharp shoulder line that fades into this area, but we still have this shoulder line. You can see how this area is tilted or angled upwards, going into the bodywork. We have some creases in the lower section as well. Just classic sedan proportions. It looks great to me. And on top of that, we have this DTM style bulge over the rear axle, similar to what we have on the M2, like we talked about, looking very cool. And this is just a regular 3 Series, so I wonder what the new M3 is going to have in terms of width and plantedness. It's going to look fantastic. Now, looking at the side view of the new spy photos, these are the proportions that I've been longing to see from BMW. No complex graphics. The front end, I actually do believe, is going to look very, very nice, because you can see the key graphics here being this Neue Klasse design with the 2 light elements right here, the kidneys being way thinner than what we have right now. It looks like we have some creases going on the front axle as well to properly plant the front in addition to the rear. And overall, the greenhouse look great. We have 3 box design here, 1 box in the front end, 2 box for the greenhouse, and then of course we have this box in the rear end being the 3rd box. Even though I think this might actually be the EV. I am not 100% sure, because the EV looks different. I'm going to show you that here in the next image. The EV has different proportions than the internal combustion engine. But if this is in fact the EV, it's going to be a good looking EV. The greenhouse very tight, very shallow here for the glass portion. Then we have the big bodywork in the lower section, almost a 60-40 split when it comes to a ratio between the height of these. You can see we have a straight roof line going down into the C-pillar, creating this trunk in the rear end. The trunk area might want to extend it just a little bit, just a couple of inches, to have it be a little longer than what we see here. But I don't know. I have to wait and see until I see the real car in production form to give, of course, a final assessment of this design and my opinion on it. Now look at the front end. This is just clear BMW to me, because we have everything we need. We have the 2 elements in the headlight unit, even though they're not rounded now anymore. We have these cuts with LEDs. Then we have the 2 kidneys in the front end in the same line as the headlight unit, looking beautiful. We have a clearly defined bumper. It still looks like we have this triangular design like we have in here in the current 3 Series. It looks like we have something similar to that going on right here. And it also has some cooling in the lower section right here. Not sure entirely what this is going to look like, but I'm going to show you the renderings in a minute, and I think they are pretty close. They're not going to be 100%, but they're pretty close to what this is going to look like. So looking at these new photos, I really like what's going on with BMW, and I honestly feel now with the iX3 as well. If you look at the iX3 from a side view in black, the proportions are spot on, and that is an EV. Now, looking at the new 3 Series, taking the same design language, Neue Klasse design that we have in the iX3, putting it in a sedan form, extend the kidneys a little bit, exactly like I wanted to see in the iX3, with the proper sedan proportions, it's going to be a good looking car. Now here we have a photo from BMWblog.com. I'm going to link that down below as well. And here you can see the difference in proportions between the EV, which is this one up here. This is actually the EV 3 Series. This one is the internal combustion engines 3 Series. The biggest difference here is going to happen in the front end, of course. You can see just how beautiful this long hood is for the internal combustion engine, shooting straight out from the A-pillar. A-pillar going down right here. If we draw a line, it's going to go right into the center point of the front axle. And we have this, again, 3-box design. To me, these proportions are exactly the proportions I want to see for the 3 Series. And here you can also see the bumper integration. Again, looks like we have this waterfall design. So we have a lot of classic, beautiful design features from older BMWs coming back. And you can never go wrong with these type of proportions for a small sedan. It's just the right style for BMW, in my opinion. You can see the current 3 Series here as well, and just how similar it is to proportions to the new one. This, if we zoom in here and we draw out these light elements here, this actually reminds me of the first generation Lexus IS. This section right here, which was a very, very cool design when it first came out. And then you can see the EV version having a much bulkier hood. I feel like the hood is sitting a little higher. It's also a lot shorter than the internal combustion engine. So I definitely prefer, of course, this is the reason generally why I prefer internal combustion engine proportions, because the EVs, they still look very stubby. The proportions are not as beautiful and stretched out as we have in internal combustion engine versions. Now last but not least, I want to show you these renderings from BMW blog, again linked down below, and I think this is pretty close to what we're gonna see the new 3 Series look like, even though you see these soft curvatures up here for these soft surfaces in this area, going down here as well, and this area right here, this soft surface. I think it's going to be a little bit more boxy in the front end than what we see here, but the rear end looks pretty spot on, because you can see we have this waterfall design going into a proper bumper. Not sure about this lower section. This is probably taken from a current M3 or something like that. And the light design here is not going to look like this either, because we already saw it in these photos here, that this is not what the light design is going to look like. I think honestly this looks more exciting to me, this design that we have for the light that we can see here, than these designs here. These look way more static, in my opinion, than what we see in the actual spy photos of the real car. So very excited to see when this is going to launch, and I can't wait to see what the final design is going to look like. And again, it feels like BMW is finally on the right track. We're gonna see the new X5 in Neue Klasse design. The new 7 Series is coming out as well soon with a major facelift. So exciting times for BMW, and let me know what you think about these proportions specifically. To me, it just looks spot on.